Hallo. Guten Abend, Damen und Herren, Frau und Mädchen. Greetings. Welcome back from Florida. I had a realization while on the 2-hour flight back from Fort Myers to back here. And I was like, wow, I never put 2 and 2 together before on that. In the past 3 months, of course, I don't keep track of emails because they're enormous. But I keep track of ones where people have serious camera issues because they stick in my brain. There are always problem-solving questions where someone will email me, oh, I contacted so-and-so and they weren't helpful, and, you know, damn it, I need to figure this out. I thought I'd ask you. And everybody knows that I'm no fan of Sony. So you would think, of all the emails that I get, it would be unusual and peculiar that Sony people, and of course all these damn digital cameras are the same. They're a magnesium box with a main board inside, a shutter mech, and a sensor. They're all kind of really the same. That Sony peeps wouldn't be emailing me about issues about their camera. And then I do have a tally, plus or minus 20% of accuracy. In other words, I'm at least 80% correct. That I immediately realized in my head, in flying back, you know, in the past 2 months, I've had like 6 hardcore tech support questions from Sony people. One of them, and I can't tell you his name, is even a Sony shooter. I'd not heard of him before, but I looked him up. I was like, surely a Sony shooter isn't asking me a tech support question, which I'll gladly help anybody, and he is. I was like, well, that's nice. I had that handful of tech support questions from Sony users, but within that same period of time, Nikon and Fujifilm shooters, there were no Fujifilm tech support questions, unless it was something like, you know, I can't figure out how to do this in the menu. You know, how do I do this? That doesn't count. I'm talking about where the camera is actually, you know, relatively new, not been dropped or anything, and it's failed in a remarkable fashion. And there's not a single Nikon person also within that time period. It's like, well, that's a statistical anomaly. And that's not the case. So I have absolutely no love for Sony. And there are many reasons for that. Number one, Sony's not a camera company. They're a consumer electronics company, and they rush everything to market without sufficient testing. And if they got an issue, Sony's had the exact same corporate ethos now for decades. So, well, if it's messed up, we're just going to come out with a new model that fixes the problem with the old model. There's a lot of issues with Sony, but that should really kind of tell you something. The last email I got was about a week and a half ago, and the guy was having hardcore problems with his sensor. And he said Sony tech support was of no help at all, and found out what the problem was. Any camera could have an issue, but, you know, I really wanted to make this video because everybody keeps saying, why do you hate Sony so much? You know, that's nothing wrong with Sony. You know, compared to what? You know, I never said the cameras had bad image. Well, they do actually have bad color science. Not a JPEG shooter at all. And of course, you could take a RAW file and do almost anything to it, but the straight out of camera images from Sony sucks. Their color science is horrific. The build quality, the lack of forethought and ergonomics is horrible. The menus are horrible. The focus peaking is demonstrably bad, which is actually one of the things that actually shocked me the most about Sony cameras, and I've tested more than a few, especially some of the recent ones like the A7 III and the A9. I thought it'd be at least as good as Fujifilm, but it is nowhere even close. Even a lot of hardcore Sony fanboys, like, you know, you're right, I love Sony, but what you said about focus peaking is true. I also own a Fuji, and Sony's focus peaking sucks. And it does suck. It's not my opinion. Well, that's your opinion. No, it's not. It sucks. It sucks, period. But there are a lot of reasons why I don't like Sony, but I actually wanted to make this video for that very premise because, you know, who is going to email me tech support questions on a Sony? Not that I can't be helpful, of course I can be, and I'll help anybody. But it's the fact that, you know, during that time frame there was no Fujifilm like, oh my God, my camera's, you know, doing backflips and drooling on itself. You know, those sort of, you know, there's something wrong with the camera. Can you figure it out? No emails like that from Fujifilm users or Nikon users, but I had several, 4 that I know of, within that 2+ month period from Sony people. So Sony people purposely reached out to me, wanting me to solve serious camera-related issues, even though they know I can't stand Sony. I like being helpful regardless. And that's really pretty demonstrable, excuse me. Haven't been getting enough sleep lately. Demonstrable as far as, you know, really, if you want a reason why I don't like Sony, there's a really big one right there. I mean, that should say something to me. If it doesn't, so be it. It says a lot to me. It does. You know, I don't sell anything and I don't have any affiliate links. Whatever the hell you use, you know, I don't make a damn dime, but I've got no respect for Sony. They're not a camera company, and I don't appreciate their products for many empirical, objective reasons. Their ecosystem and their corporate ethos sucks. Forever and ever, I mean, every Sony user was adapting some sort of Canon glass. And there's not a single Sony lens, and I've tried more than a few of them, that's impressive to me. None. I hear the new 135 is awesome, which I've not used yet, but there's not a single damn Sony lens that the Sony peeps keep talking about that's any damn good. It's impressive. They're just not. Their full-frame camera is on a crop sensor mount. That's a fact, by the way. If you don't believe me, go look it up. This creates issues in lens design. Actually can put fast lenses on the cameras, but it creates nasty lens design constraints. It's not my opinion either. That's a hardcore fact. Zeiss president said it. The president of Sigma said it. Who else said it? Oh, Nikon said it explicitly, and it is a fact. The E-mount is and was designed for a crop sensor. I don't know if you've ever looked at a Sony E-mount full-frame sensor camera. You can, you know, if you look at it dead straight on with one eye closed, you really can't see the corners of the sensor. That mount was not designed for a full-frame sensor. It's just not. That does factually create lens design issues. It's not my opinion, that's just an optical fact. I don't care how much Sony people don't want to hear it. It's the truth. Anyway, scratch my head with the back of this Nikon D500 here. Wait for it. Sony. Sucks.